Why do we like roller coasters? What is it that makes us wait sometimes hours to ride them? Surely it's got something to do with their big drops. What about the blistering top speed? Or perhaps it's the unique feeling of being upside down. Maybe we like the chaos, the complete lack of control. Or it could be the bizarrely addicting sensation of total weightlessness. If you think about your favorite roller coasters, what is it that makes them good for you? What is it that makes a roller coaster not only exciting, but incredibly thrilling? What is it that makes the perfect roller coaster? Being a fan of roller coasters, I wanted to find out. My plan? Ask lots of people about their roller coaster preferences, figure out what the most important features are, and see whether they match some of the world's best roller coasters. So, I did that. I asked some of you about your roller coaster preferences. I distilled roller coasters into a list of 13 different features or characteristics. It's far from a complete list, but includes most of the main elements that help build excitement and anticipation. Most are pretty self-explanatory. We've got airtime, the feeling of being thrown up and out of your seat, positive G-force, the feeling of being pushed downwards into your seat, and finally laterals, the feeling of being forced into the side of your seat. Then we've got your basic features, a great sense of speed, which goes hand in hand with launches, as well as ride length, inversions, those upside down elements, and an absolute classic, lift hills. That's not to be confused with height or even a large drop. Then we've got some more abstract ones, including how compact the ride is. Some roller coasters gain an added sense of chaos by weaving as much track into a smaller space as possible. Roller coasters can also be well paced. That's how cohesive or flowing the ride actually feels. Some are very stop-start, others are one continuous thrilling experience that never seems to end. Well, until it does. And finally, perhaps the most subjective characteristic of all, theming. Storytelling and decoration play a huge part in some roller coaster experiences. Who doesn't enjoy being sucked into an immersive new world? Over 300 people were shown pairs of these characteristics. For each pair, they had to select which they preferred, airtime or height, speed or length, a large drop or inversions, and so on. From this, I combined people's opinions to determine which features the majority preferred. Those characteristics that beat most of the others scored highly, and those that often lost, poorly. Simple. So, what did everyone prefer? What is the most important roller coaster feature? Well, rather boringly, it's airtime. People who like roller coasters perhaps a bit too much, like myself, seem to adore airtime. Literally crave the stuff. It's like a drug to roller coaster nerds. Airtime itself comes in lots of flavors. Some roller coasters give you a pure floating sensation, while others try to eject you out of your seat. Both are equally as fun. When we look at the types of roller coasters people often consider to be the world's best, that result checks out. Rides like Steel Vengeance at Cedar Point and Iron Gwazi at Busch Gardens Tampa Bay have an abundance of airtime. Other popular roller coasters, such as Velocicoaster at Universal Islands of Adventure and Plopsaland Japan's Ride to Happiness, feature airtime scattered throughout too. But having airtime doesn't make a perfect ride. Thunderbolt at Luna Park has airtime, a ride generally considered to be very not good. That's probably down to the fact it's quite uncomfortable. Nevertheless, airtime is often a surefire way to make a good ride. The Hypercoaster, built by Bolliger and Mabillard, B&M, features airtime nearly exclusively. After the first drop, you fly hill over hill, each time feeling the sensation of total weightlessness. This type of ride ranks among the top 15% of all roller coasters worldwide. Not bad for just airtime. Alright, what about the next feature? What's the second most preferred roller coaster characteristic? Well, it's a well-paced ride. It's not about the height or speed, but the fluidity of the ride itself. Roller coaster pacing is much harder to objectively rank. It's less about a statistic and more a feeling. Does the combination of element after element flow to create a non-stop, thrilling roller coaster? If so, it's well paced. A great example, and a personal favourite of mine, is Helix at Liseberg. Helix is unstoppable. The ride begins instantly, dipping out of the station and flipping you upside down. Then you speed through its first launch before plummeting down the park's natural hilly terrain. A series of inversions in Airtime later, it's on to the second launch, which rockets you up the hill and back towards the station. The entire design of the track is close to flawless. What about an example of a roller coaster that isn't well paced? Look no further than Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket at Universal Studios Florida. Through no real fault of its own, the ride features a huge number of mid-course brake runs. These are short sections of straight track that break up the layout. Unfortunately for Rocket, going through brake run after brake run gets very boring very quickly. Sadly, repetitiveness kills the pacing. It just feels like the ride never really gets going. Okay, so airtime is the most important feature, closely followed by a ride being well paced. What's third? Theming. Theming is less about the roller coaster itself and more about its presentation. It can play a big part in elevating any roller coaster experience. Just look at Hagrid's Magical Creature Motorbike Adventure, henceforth known as Hagrid Bike, at Universal Islands of Adventure. The ride isn't tall, it's not that fast, and it doesn't go upside down. What it does have is impressive theming and attention to detail. Hagrid Bike currently ranks among the top 100 roller coasters globally, better than most of B&M's traditional hypercoasters. What Hagrid Bike lacks in pure statistics, it makes up for in fun. It's simply an enjoyable experience from beginning to end. Its neighbor, Velocicoaster, is already thrilling, yet it becomes even more so with theming. Seeing raptors in the queue line helps to build the anticipation and excitement before the ride even begins. Then you start diving between jagged rocks, adding another layer to the already chaotic experience. Ultimately, theming makes the ride more unique and memorable than it already is. In some cases, a lack of theming, or even a lack of simple decoration, can negatively impact a ride. Scream at Six Flags Magic Mountain and Medusa at Six Flags Great Adventure are identical roller coasters. The only thing that sets them apart is their decoration. Medusa has been built on a grassy field with various theming elements scattered throughout. Scream, on the other hand, was built over an old parking lot, surrounded by concrete. It's not a shock that Medusa ranks vastly higher than Scream despite the identical track layout. So that's the top 3, and here's how the rest of the characteristics stacked up. It's not that surprising to see lift hill at the bottom, especially since height and large drop cover most of its benefits. I did find inversions interesting though. There was a period of time when inversions on roller coasters fell out of fashion. Today, many of the best rides in the world do feature inversions, showing that a well-placed upside-down element can help to improve the ride. On that note, how do the characteristics found on the world's best roller coasters match up to our most important 3? Well, if we look at the world's top 10 roller coasters, an impressive 9 feature airtime. All 10 are also well paced, some more than others, but you won't find any of them crawling to a finish. What about theming? Well, here it begins to get interesting. Only 3 feature a decent amount of theming. That's Velocicoaster, Ride to Happiness, and Zadra. And only one of those is really heavily themed. In terms of the other features, 9 of our 10 have a strong sense of speed, all 10 feature a large, steeply angled drop of some description, and another 9 are tall, standing 155 feet, 47 meters or higher. Interestingly, for 2 of these 3 features, it's the same ride that is the odd one out, Plopsaland's Ride to Happiness. It isn't a particularly tall roller coaster, nor a fast one. What Ride to Happiness lacks in these departments, it makes up for in its unique feature, spinning trains. The spinning aspect adds another layer to the experience, making an already great roller coaster even better. So, what's the conclusion here? Well, I have 2. First, the perfect roller coaster doesn't do just one thing. We've seen that, for example, having airtime will only get you so far. B&M's hypercoasters are good, but they don't stack up against rides like Iron Gwazi and Steel Vengeance. The same can be said for other rides that double down on a single feature too. B&M's inverted coasters, like Nemesis at Alton Towers or Montu at Busch Gardens Tampa Bay, often solely rely on intense positive G-forces to generate excitement. This is interesting at first, but the repetitive nature quickly limits the overall experience. With that in mind, it makes sense that not a single B&M invert lies within the top 10, top 25, or even top 50 roller coasters around the world. For a roller coaster to be perfect, it needs a well-rounded combination of elements. It needs some airtime to give you that weightlessness sensation, it needs to be well-paced to provide a single, seamless experience, and it needs to have a great sense of speed to add another additional layer of chaos to the mix. This is a pattern not just seen within the world's top 10 roller coasters, but the top 100 too. The second conclusion is that theming is a nice to have. Roller coasters don't need to be well themed or highly immersive to be the best. However, theming can improve any roller coaster. As time goes on, more rides like Velocicoaster pop up around the world. Batman Gotham City Escape, Toutatis, Pantheon. Despite their similarities, Velocicoaster is often consistently regarded to be the best of the bunch. It's thanks to its unique mixture of scale and theming that allows it to rise above the rest. That's not to say that rides can't break the mold in either case. Ride to Happiness and Asianica at Fuji-Q Highland, a ride which flips guests in their seat as they fly along the track, both show the value of unique features. Despite their untraditional characteristics, they remain two of the world's best roller coasters. The real conclusion is that actually, preferences change. The features we enjoy the most today may be ones we like less tomorrow. Roller coaster design adapts to us. It'll continue to evolve to make rides that are ever more thrilling and hopefully ever more perfect. Thank you for watching, subscribe if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all next time.